You've been doing everything right, cutting calories, hitting the gym, drinking your water, and yet something deep inside your body is still working against you. It is working silently, invisibly, every single hour of every single day. Visceral fat, the hidden layer strangling your organs from the inside, doesn't care about your discipline. It rewires your hormones, blocks your metabolism, hijacks your brain chemistry, and makes fat burning feel biologically impossible, because for your body in that state, it actually is. Here's what nobody is telling you. The moment visceral fat starts to break down, your body doesn't just lose weight, it undergoes a complete biological resurrection. Your liver rebuilds itself, your brain clears, your hormones stop fighting each other, your gut regenerates, your heart relaxes for the first time in years. This isn't motivation speak, this is documented, measurable science happening at the cellular level. It begins with a single metabolic shift most people never trigger because they never understood what they were actually dealing with. What you're about to watch isn't another weight loss video telling you to eat less and move more. It's a precise science-backed breakdown of what literally happens inside your body organ by organ, hormone by hormone when visceral fat finally starts to dissolve. If you've ever felt like your body was broken, like no matter what you did the results never matched the effort, this video is the explanation. Stay until the end, because the part most people miss is the part that changes everything. There's a version of your body that most people never get to experience. A version where waking up doesn't feel like a battle, where your energy doesn't crash by 2 in the afternoon, where your hunger makes sense and your mind feels sharp without caffeine. That version isn't some fitness fantasy. It's what happens when your body is finally freed from something most people carry for years, not the fat you can grab with your hand, not the kind a tight pair of jeans reminds you about, something far deeper and far more dangerous. Visceral fat, the silent layer wrapped around your liver, your heart, your pancreas, your intestines, quietly running the show from the inside. Most conversations about weight loss treat fat like it's all the same thing. Eat less, move more, shrink the body. But this approach completely misses what visceral fat actually is and what it actually does. This is an active biological system. It is constantly releasing signals that alter your hormones, suppress your metabolism, cloud your thinking, and inflate your appetite. When you feel exhausted after sleep, or when sugar cravings hit like a freight train at 9 at night, that's not weakness. That's visceral fat doing exactly what it was designed to do under chronic stress, poor sleep, processed food, and metabolic overload. Your body actually wants to eliminate visceral fat. It is not lazy, it is not broken, it is not working against you. It is protecting you from what it perceives as an ongoing threat: chronic stress, energy scarcity, inflammatory food, and hormonal confusion. The moment you remove those threats consistently, the moment your body senses metabolic safety, it begins a cascade of biological events. It targets visceral fat first because it sits closest to the body's command center, right next to major blood vessels and hormone receptors. When that fat begins to mobilize, it releases high-energy molecules into the bloodstream that essentially send a memo to your entire body. The rules have changed. It's time to operate differently. That single shift is the beginning of something most people never experience. When you crash diet, visceral fat feels threatened and the body doubles down on storing it. Cortisol spikes. Insulin resistance worsens. But when you create the right conditions, strategic reduction, quality sleep, stress regulation, the body reads that as safety. Safety is the trigger. Safety is what tells visceral fat it's no longer needed as a survival reserve. The liver begins to restructure its energy processing. The pancreas gets a break from the constant pressure of insulin resistance. Blood vessels that were inflamed and narrowed begin to relax. The immune system shifts from attack mode to repair mode. Hormones, leptin, ghrelin, adiponectin, cortisol, which had been shouting past each other, begin to communicate clearly again. This is what makes visceral fat loss fundamentally different. It's not cosmetic. It's about the restoration of systems that govern how you feel. Every organ in your body has been compensating for the inflammatory pressure. The moment that pressure lifts, the body rebuilds. Eliminate abdominal fat and you don't just look different, you become biologically different. That is the promise of letting it go. The liver rarely gets the recognition it deserves in conversations about fitness and fat burning. Most people think of it as the organ that processes alcohol and filters toxins, which is true. But that description barely scratches the surface of what the liver actually manages every single day. It regulates blood sugar. It processes hormones like estrogen, cortisol, and testosterone. It produces bile for digestion. It synthesizes proteins that keep your blood healthy and your tissues functioning. It is the metabolic headquarters of your entire body. And visceral fat has been quietly suffocating it for years. Not dramatically, but in the slow, grinding way that chronic overload works. It dulls function, reduces efficiency, and forces the liver to prioritize damage control over optimal performance. When visceral fat begins to break down, the liver is the first organ to feel the full force of that shift. Suddenly it receives a surge of free fatty acids released from dissolving fat cells, adapting at a speed modern medicine is still studying. Enzymes responsible for fat oxidation are rapidly upregulated. The liver essentially upgrades its own processing capacity in real time. It learns to burn fat faster and cleaner than it produced when running on glucose and metabolic overload. One significant byproduct is ketone production, a stable form of energy that the brain, heart, and muscles actually prefer. This is why people report dramatically sharper mental clarity and reduced brain fog. It is not motivation, it is biochemistry. As visceral fat dissolves, the flood of inflammatory cytokines subsides, and the liver's detoxification pathways open up. Hormone processing improves. Excess estrogen is properly metabolized, and cortisol begins to normalize. Testosterone regulation improves in both men and women. People notice this lived experience. Skin clears, mood stabilizes, libido returns, and sleep deepens. These are not coincidences. They are the downstream effects of a liver finally operating with the capacity it was designed for, freed from its metabolic burden. The cardiovascular system undergoes its own quiet revolution. Visceral fat actively participates in the inflammatory environment that damages arterial walls. The ratio of HDL to LDL cholesterol begins to correct itself as fat loss progresses. Arterial inflammation drops significantly. The heart, which had been working harder than necessary, finds its rhythm again. This is not abstract theory, it's researched reality. Then there is the pancreas. When visceral fat is high, it forces the pancreas to work at an unsustainable intensity. Cells stop responding to signals, forcing more insulin production. This is insulin resistance, the metabolic foundation of type 2 diabetes. As visceral fat breaks down, cells begin responding to insulin again. The pancreas gets a chance to recover. Blood sugar stabilizes, and the cravings that felt like moral failures simply begin to quiet down because the root cause is addressed. The liver heals, the heart relaxes, the pancreas recovers, and the body finally begins operating the way it was designed to. It has to come from within. And it starts the moment visceral fat gets the signal that it's finally safe to let go. There is a conversation happening inside your body right now that most people never get to hear. It is not loud, it does not announce itself with dramatic symptoms or sudden revelations. It whispers through the quality of your sleep, the steadiness of your mood, the clarity behind your eyes when you wake up, the way your hunger feels rational rather than desperate, the way your body moves through the day without an invisible weight. That conversation is your biology trying to tell you where it stands, whether it is overwhelmed or balanced, inflamed or healing. The most powerful thing you can do is to understand what visceral fat does to the systems that govern it. Once you understand the mechanism, the path forward stops feeling like punishment and starts feeling like biology working exactly as it should. One underappreciated dimension of visceral fat loss is what happens to the gut microbiome, the vast community of microorganisms in your digestive tract. Visceral fat creates a chronic inflammatory environment that is deeply hostile to the beneficial bacterial strains your gut depends on. The low-grade heat of that internal inflammation shifts the microbial balance away from bacteria that support digestion, immunity, and neurotransmitter production. This is not a minor inconvenience. The gut microbiome influences how efficiently you burn fat, how your immune system responds, and how you feel when the microbial ecosystem is compromised. The effects ripple outward: anxiety that feels sourceless, motivation that evaporates without explanation. When visceral fat begins to dissolve and that inflammatory pressure lifts, the gut begins to recover with incredible speed. Beneficial bacteria like Bifidobacterium and Lactobacillus begin to re-establish themselves and multiply in the newfound balance. The intestinal lining begins to tighten and heal. Digestion becomes more efficient. Bloating starts to resolve. Approximately 90% of the body's serotonin is synthesized in the gut, impacting emotional regulation and sleep quality. This explains why people report feeling lighter, calmer, and more like themselves than they have been in years. The brain itself undergoes significant changes. Visceral fat is associated with neuroinflammation, which manifests as cognitive fog. As visceral fat decreases, the brain's own immune cells, called microglia, shift from a pro-inflammatory state into a restorative one. People describe this shift as suddenly being able to think again. The biological interference is finally being cleared. The body stops operating in defensive mode and begins operating in regenerative mode. Metabolism begins to express its natural flexibility. Metabolic flexibility is the real prize. The body does not fight to return to its previous state. It fights to stay in the new one. The body is not your enemy. Give it the right conditions, and it will heal itself from the inside out. One quiet biological revolution at a time, and that revolution, once started, changes everything. Most people measure progress in the wrong currency. They step on a scale, stare at a number, feel a rush of validation or a wave of defeat, and let that single data point define whether their efforts are working or failing. But the scale measures everything: water, muscle, bone density, organ weight, the sandwich you had 3 hours ago, and it measures nothing about what actually matters when it comes to genuine metabolic transformation. The real progress, the kind that determines whether your body is fundamentally changing or simply fluctuating, happens in places you cannot see. It happens in the sensitivity of your insulin receptors. It happens in the inflammatory load your immune system is carrying. It happens in the quality of the signals your hunger hormones are sending to your brain, and all of it is governed by visceral fat. This is why two people can follow the same healthy meal plans, do the same workouts, consume the same calories, and produce different results. The variable is almost never willpower. It is the inflammatory and hormonal environment created by visceral fat, which operates differently in different bodies. Someone carrying significant visceral fat is operating with a biological handicap that no amount of clean eating or fitness effort can fully overcome. Their leptin is being ignored. Their adiponectin is suppressed. Their cortisol is chronically elevated. Their mitochondria are generating energy inefficiently. They are not failing at weight loss. They are succeeding at surviving a biological environment that makes fat loss structurally difficult. What makes visceral fat uniquely resistant to conventional approaches is its relationship with cortisol, the body's primary stress hormone. Visceral fat is densely packed with cortisol receptors. It grows in response to chronic stress, fed by poor sleep and processed food. Aggressive caloric restriction, the kind that activates the body's stress response, can paradoxically signal visceral fat to hold on tighter rather than release. The body interprets extreme dieting as a survival threat. It responds by defending its deepest fat stores with hormonal ferocity. The goal is to create conditions where the body's intelligence recognizes that visceral fat is no longer needed as a protective reserve. That means managing cortisol as deliberately as calories. It means treating sleep as a metabolic intervention as powerful as any workout. Boosting metabolism happens naturally when inflammation is low, when hormones communicate clearly and the nervous system is in rest and digest mode. The timeline of visceral fat loss is profoundly misunderstood. It does not disappear in 2 weeks. It unfolds over months, not days. The first weeks are characterized by subtle shifts, better sleep, stable energy that are easy to dismiss as coincidence. But beneath the surface, the biology is reorganizing at a depth that will eventually produce changes visible enough to be undeniable. Complete transformation belongs to those who trust the process while the results are still invisible. When the mirror hasn't caught up yet, it begins with knowing exactly what visceral fat is, what removing it does, and why your body is already trying to do exactly that. There is a moment that people who have genuinely transformed their metabolic health all describe in different words but with the same essential meaning. It is not the moment they hit a target weight, or fit into a specific size, or received a compliment that confirmed something they had hoped. It is quieter than that, and far more significant. It is the morning they woke up and realized they felt fundamentally, structurally, biologically different, as though something that had been running in the background for years, consuming resources and generating noise, had finally gone silent. That silence is what visceral fat loss actually feels like, not a dramatic event, a profound absence. The absence of inflammation and hormonal interference. Recognizing that moment is essential for sustaining it, because the biology that creates metabolic clarity is the same biology that must be maintained. Keeping visceral fat gone demands that you understand your own patterns, your stress responses, your sleep vulnerabilities, and your emotional eating triggers. People who regain visceral fat return to the exact environmental conditions, chronic stress and poor sleep, that created the accumulation in the first place. This is why science-backed understanding gives you a framework, a way of reading your own body's signals accurately. Your energy levels are data, your hunger patterns are data, the quality of your sleep and stability of your mood are all information. When leptin is functioning correctly, hunger makes sense. When ghrelin is regulated, appetite has a rhythm. When cortisol is balanced, stress feels manageable. These are the default operating conditions of a human body that is not being chronically disrupted by visceral fat and inflammation. Movement matters enormously, but not primarily because of calories. It matters because of what it does to insulin sensitivity even after a single session. It matters because it builds mitochondrial density, making fat burning the body's preferred mode of energy production rather than an emergency measure. It deepens slow-wave sleep phases during which growth hormone is released. Cellular repair accelerates, and the brain consolidates neurological changes. What emerges when elements like cortisol management and intelligent movement come together is not a perfect body, but a body that trusts itself. A brain that thinks without fog, makes decisions without being hijacked by blood sugar crashes or inflammatory noise. Losing visceral fat is the catalyst, but the destination is biological coherence, a state where your body's systems work together, where you are no longer carrying something you were never designed to carry. And without it, everything works better than you remembered it could. The conversation about visceral fat almost always begins and ends with the belly, with measurements, with mirror reflections, with the frustrating persistence of abdominal fullness that survives every diet and outlasts every fitness phase. While the visual dimension is real, reducing it to an aesthetic problem is like describing a hurricane as a wind that messes up your hair. The visible belly is just the surface expression of a systemic biological condition affecting your cardiovascular risk and cognitive function. It impacts your emotional regulation, your immune competence, your hormonal balance, and your cellular aging rate. Every dimension improves when visceral fat is genuinely reduced as a direct mechanistic consequence of removing the primary inflammatory driver. This understanding changes the motivation from vanity to survival, from aesthetics to biology. It's about wanting to function at the level your body is capable of when it is not being silently sabotaged from the inside. Visceral fat accelerates biological aging through pathways that researchers are only beginning to fully map. The chronic inflammation it generates damages telomeres, the protective caps on chromosomes that function like biological clocks. Elevated inflammatory cytokines also impair stem cells, reducing the body's capacity to regenerate damaged tissue and maintain organ function. Mitochondrial dysfunction further accelerates cellular aging by degrading the machinery responsible for producing energy. Carrying significant visceral fat makes you biologically older at a rate faster than your chronological age would dictate. Reducing visceral fat is one of the most evidence-supported interventions for slowing biological aging that currently exists. The immune system dimension connects visceral fat loss to health outcomes most people never think to associate with belly fat. The immune system is not a static defense network, it is a dynamic system sensitive to its inflammatory environment. When visceral fat generates pro-inflammatory signals, the immune system exists in a state of perpetual partial activation. This sustained low-grade activation consumes enormous resources and makes the body more vulnerable to infectious threats. As visceral fat decreases, the immune system recalibrates, becoming more precise, efficient, and capable of distinguishing genuine threats. Visceral fat disrupts sleep through multiple mechanisms. It contributes to sleep apnea by increasing inflammatory pressure on airway tissues. Cortisol spike. Poor sleep, in turn, accelerates fat accumulation by suppressing growth hormone and keeping cortisol elevated. This creates a self-reinforcing cycle that is genuinely difficult to interrupt from either end alone. Breaking this cycle requires understanding that every hour of quality sleep is a direct metabolic intervention. This understanding points toward a vision of health defined by biological coherence, a state where your body's signals are trustworthy. Your hunger reflects genuine need, your energy reflects genuine capacity, and your mood reflects genuine circumstance. Visceral fat stands between most people in that state, not because they failed to work hard enough, but because they didn't understand the block. This understanding is the beginning of a different relationship with your biology, where the body is no longer the obstacle but your most powerful ally. There's a natural solution to speed up your metabolism, control cravings, and support your weight loss journey naturally and effectively. Click the link in the first pinned comment to start transforming your body. If you want to truly transform your body and learn how to lose belly fat healthily, don't stop here. In the next video, I'll share practical strategies and little-known secrets to boost your metabolism and keep the weight off for good. Click now and discover how to take your weight loss to the next level.